So picking up where we left off with Trish and Marcus, they at the dinner table. She done admitted that she done slept with Walter. And he jumps up and starts to choke her. Terry has to grab him to keep him from killing her. And Terry holding him back, and he said, "That's why I can't stand you. You so evil." Toxic. They are toxic to one another. Sometimes you don't realize how toxic a person is until they show you who they are. But when a person shows you who they are, you gotta believe who they are. She's 110% toxic. That is her entire demeanor. But her toxicity comes from her alcohol problem. Where does her alcohol problem come from? Her resentment towards him. And she probably also knew that he was sleeping around on her with Keisha. That's why she slept with Walter. So that whole scenario is drama. But as we further go into this situation, somebody here has to make a decision. You can either choose to continue to remain toxic, or you can decide to make changes. So when they go back home, they have to start making decisions. Keisha shows up at Tasha's job. And Keisha comes calmly and asks for Marcus. And Marcus comes to her and is trying to have... Well, actually, no. Tasha comes to her first. Now, Marcus knows that these two women cannot stand each other. Not to mention, he's been sleeping with both of them. Let's talk about soul ties for a moment. As long as there is a soul tie involved in your relationship, meaning if he's connected to Tasha and they have a committed relationship, the second he has sex with Keisha, it's going to bring about a spiritual issue, which is going to in turn bring out more of her rage. Because she can feel the disorientation of him having slept with Keisha. So in order to bring about more confusion, she goes to sleep with this guy named Walter. And she only probably slept with the guy named Walter because ain't nobody know who Walter was. One time fling because she was trying to get back at Marcus for sleeping with Keisha. Because 9 times out of 10, she's probably been the faithful one in their relationship the whole time. She only slept with Walter to get back at him for sleeping with Keisha. And probably to get out of her frustration over resenting him for what? Him no longer having the money that he did at the level that he did when he was pro ball playing, and she got to still take care of both the kids. But instead of expressing her concern, she drinks them away. She drinks and she drinks and she drinks and she drinks. And then consistently throws in his face he ain't got no job. Then expresses her issues to her girlfriends. And her girlfriends will even tell her, as long as you've got that toxicity of that alcohol in your system, how do you know what you really feel about anything? You're always inebriated. Always. So he ends up in a situation where he got to break the two of them up because they getting into it at Tasha's shop. He breaks them up. He tells Keisha, "I'll talk to you later," and he gets her to calm down. He comes back later that afternoon, drives. I don't know whether he drove or Tasha drove, but I know that when she gets out the car, he goes to get the kids. He tells Keisha off. He makes a decision. I'm going to save my marriage more than I'm going to allow this narcissistic behavior. Because Keisha, every time she get a chance to, she gonna use her weapon. And he said, no, this is not gonna happen. Number one, you're not gonna disrespect my wife. That is my wife. That's my wife. You will not disrespect her. That is the mother of one of my children. And yes, because you are the mother of my other child, I have to see you. But that's my wife. No. Then, when Tasha thinks she got the leeway, yeah, that's it. He says, no, absolutely not. Because you ain't right in this situation either. She's the mother of my other child, so we gonna have to deal with her. But you not right either. You sit there and you talk about how I don't got a job. You sit there and you talk about all this when you forget I'm the one that financed you even being able to have the business in the first place. Don't even go there. So he's been suppressing for the longest time her, because she always wants to throw that stuff in his face, trying to make him feel small and like a child. Narcissistic, classic behavior. Trying to feel like she in control. And he stood up for himself. When you have a narcissist that no longer has power, they no longer want to be in a relationship. I know when I was in my previous relationship, when I stepped back and operated in my feminine power, I ain't talking about that femininity, woo-woo, new age stuff. I'm talking about stepping back into, instead of being the alpha female and stepping back into my femininity, our relationship no longer worked. He actually didn't like me anymore after I went back to being the feminine. And I didn't like him in the masculine position. I didn't like it at all. Because I gave him control again, which he technically did not deserve. But when they switched their positions back where she became more feminine and allotted him the ability to be the man in this moment, and she saw him as the man. Notice her entire demeanor changed in him standing up to her and to Keisha. Because she felt, probably subconsciously, she had to be the alpha female because he wasn't being a man in their relationship. But for him to stand up in that moment, she got to see him as the man again. And she could step back and say, oh, I feel safe here again. So when they got to the dinner table and she had cooked him dinner, He actually was afraid at first. Like, wait, you wouldn't call, I think he called Gavin. He was like, she cooked. And he understands her narcissism. So he understands her narcissism. He's like, should I even trust this meal right here? This is dangerous. Should I trust this meal? Should I eat this meal? Oh my God. Is she trying to kill me? I don't know. And Gavin was like, no, she probably not trying to kill you. She just want to talk to you. And he's like, wait, but she cooked. And so Gavin's like, yeah, you right. Anything tastes funny, spit it out. Spit out. Anything tastes funny, spit out. And he came back and he sat down and he's like, hey, okay, yeah. He's like, okay, this looks amazing. And she had cooked dinner to apologize because she saw him as the alpha male again. And he said he was finally able to express his true concerns, like, we can't continue to operate like this because this is toxic for the both of us. But the number one reason that we are having this problem is you're drinking too much. And she's like, yeah, you're right. She admitted she was drinking too much. But then they have to deal with the cause of her drinking problem. She drank that last drink and then she turned around and drank his drink that was on the table too. Beat on her chest. It was like, after she belched, she's like, okay, now I'm finished drinking. I'm no longer going to drink. No more. But of course, as we begin to see them again in part 2, she and Marcus are doing better. But she back to her frustration again. But I don't think she drinking like she was before. But I do think that she was drinking. So now she's in this more nitpicky mode. Now he done got a job. And she complaining about she ain't got no time with him no more. And all of the girlfriends are looking at her like, wait a minute. You the main one that was fussing and cussing and complaining to this man about the fact that he had no job. And now he done got a job doing sports anchoring. And you mad because you don't see him often enough? And she's like, yeah. So she thinks it's an opportunity for them to be closer together. But he's talking to the guys. And they looking at him like, so you just like her like that, evidently. And he's like, yeah, I like her like that. Because of the fact that when we argue, the sex is good. Let's be grown people. Their toxicity is almost like, again, I say they one up each other because they like the adrenaline rush that the argument brings for the sex. But that's that element, where you see those people that are like fire to one another. A relationship cannot maintain itself on just fire. But we see it a lot. We see songs written about it. I remember Maya wrote a song years ago called When We Fight, talking from a female's perspective of she purposely will pick a fight with a man just so they could have makeup sex, because the makeup sex was so good. And we later see Tasha complaining about something. I think it was about the fact that Diane and Terry had passcodes to their phones, and she didn't have the passcode to the phone. And they fussing and arguing with each other, and he can't get her to shut up. And he grabs her and gets all rough with her, because now it seems they've kind of switched up, that if he's rough with her, she gets docile. So when they get off the vacation, they're living in a new home or something like that now. And they've got a gardener and a maid and so on and so forth. But their next door neighbor, which I think was played by Betty White at the time, if I'm not mistaken. If it wasn't, it was just another older white woman. And she said, I think I heard some noise in your bedroom, and I've been hearing it the past couple of weeks around the same time every day. She's like, what time? What time? She's like, somewhere around like lunchtime. So she went from trusting Marcus to now going back on the thought process. Wait a minute. He already done cheated on me with Keisha, and they got a history of cheating on each other and fighting and all kinds of stuff. She's like, I thought we was good, but you tell me this man cheating on me again? Oh, don't worry about it. I got it. So she runs up on him at the job. And he is looking confused because she's darn near ready about to, what you call it? Flip out and do what she do. And he don't understand it. His co-workers are like, what in the world is going on? He had to go to commercial break and all kinds of stuff because she about ready to tear up everything in there. And he trying to have a conversation, but he don't understand why she's going off anyway. He's like, who is it? She trying to find out who it is. Now, that the morning that she decides to come back, she takes his phone and he takes hers. She couldn't get into his phone. Now, she goes and has lunch with the girls. And that's when the girls express to her, you know that you drink too much. And because you drink too much, you know that can cloud your judgment. And Sheila's trying to tell you, you know that can cloud your judgment. You may be observing this thing in the wrong way. Maybe it's not what you think it is. And she sits there and openly admits, oh, I got him on LoJack. She's like, I got him. I know where he goes. I know what he does. I know who he's doing it with. I know when he leaves his job. I know how long it takes him to get from work to home. If he goes to stop for gas, I know exactly the station that it takes for him to get gas, how long it would take for him to get the gas, and then turn around and come to the house. So if he stopped anywhere between there and home, I know he went and talked to Keisha or talked to somebody. So something impropriety. And they're like, you do that much? She said, yes, I do that much. Because she don't trust him at all. Why? because of their previous behavior. And she don't see any records on her phone with the tracker to show that he'd been at home at all. So she getting confused. She decided to go back to the house and check at the time that the woman said. When the woman saw her come home, she was like, oh Lord. She went and said hello to her, and then they both heard the noise in the bedroom. They're like, what in the? She's like, oh, I got you now. Because she in the mode of, oh, you trying to play me in my house. You're going to have a problem. So she come in the house, fussing to herself, go up to the closet, pull out a gun, goes into the bedroom with full intent of killing both of them. She starts shooting without even asking. And then, come to find out, the pool boy and the maid were having sex in their bed. She sees that it's the two of them and starts flipping out. Both of y'all fired. Get the hell out of my house. So she's sitting there later that evening because she knows she got to apologize to him for how she went into his job fussing and cussing because she was blaming him for cheating on her. He comes home. He irritated. She's like, look, I'm sorry. And he's like, you should be sorry. And she said, I found out that X, Y, and Z had happened, and I have to apologize to you. And he said, after they calmed down, she said, I've been trying to figure out, I can't get into this phone. I don't know how to get into the phone. And it's been beeping all day. And he said, you should know how to get into that phone. The passcode to that phone is your birthday. And she was like, oh. And she unlocks it only to find out that he's been getting text messages all day long. She thought the phone was ringing. It was his text because it was some type of important thing in relation to something with his work. And she's like, they love you this much? He said, yeah. So they end up apologizing to each other for the second time. And she's like, I'm so sorry. And he said, I love you. I'm not going anywhere. Which kind of lets you know that she subconsciously probably was purposely doing all the stuff that she was doing because she was trying to push him away. And sometimes that's the problem. Women that are boisterous like that are probably trying to push the guy away and they won't leave. Because it's not in their personality to go like that. And I always wonder, why does this guy always end up with the woman that desperately desires to destroy them and push them away? While the girl ends up with the same thing. It's because of that attachment disorder that we was talking about in last night. It's an attachment disorder where a narcissistic personality will always draw a insecure avoidant person to them. So that is what you never usually see two insecure people together, and you never usually see um, two narcissistic people together. The narcissistic people, they would cancel each other out. That's why you would never see a Tasha with a Mike. They would drive each other crazy. Because for one, neither one of them can control the other person. And two insecure people don't know what to do with each other. So they're dealing with a lot of issues, from infidelity to frustration to resentment to habits, her alcohol habit triggered by certain elements, and then the fact that she's a narcissist, her narcissistic personality, she was never going to be satisfied even if he did get a job. She gonna always be looking for something. So when the neighbor gave her the idea that he was in that house cheating, she felt, I got him now. It's almost the same thing when it comes down to what Sheila was dealing with. You always look for your level. Sheila will push Troy away because she was looking for the exact issue. The enemy will always create a illusion that you found what you was looking for, even if it ain't true. And then you also have that toxicity of needing to be in that fight. He's turned on by being in an argumentative relationship, which is unhealthy, which the question is, where did you get that from? More than likely, he had an abusive or verbally toxic mother or several family members growing up. So to him, seeing that around a dinner table is normal. So why would he not be attracted to that? This is why when Terry said, you don't even notice when she's like that? He's like, what? It's Tuesday. Because he's used to it. Somewhere growing up, he got used to it. And what you're used to, you will attract and be attracted to. This is why we, as God ordained people that are supposed to be God ordained, married to certain people, God had to deal with us and deal with our God ordained spouses, because God's trying to get two people that are alike and fully aligned with one another into a relationship. Most people are drawn to their opposite. We hear it all the time, opposites attract. So when the Lord pushes two people that are alike together, they are going to want to repel each other. It's kind of like when you take two magnets and you try to put them together and they have the same polar resistance. They will not come together to save their life. You could never make, and you've seen it if you ever seen two magnets. Look up two magnets. When they got the same frequency, you can't get the two of them to press together. Nothing. It will stay exactly like that. It'll stay. So God has to deal with the parts in the two people in order for them to feel comfortable to be in the type of relationship that he's trying to put them in. So that their toxicity, which 9 times out of 10 is the trigger for the other person, will not push them away from each other. Because when the other person sees their red flags or the triggers, it's triggers when it's God ordained. Red flags are warning signs that the person is actually a issue. Okay? So when they see that, they're kind of repelled. This is why some of y'all probably have not connected with your spouse, especially if you are used to toxicity. God had to clear all that out. Same for you, same for your spouse. And if you are a really nice person and your God ordained spouse is a really nice person, guaranteed both of y'all were in relationship with toxic people. Whether it was nice toxic or vicious toxic, you were probably involved with toxic people. And he had to clear that up between both of you. And Shannon Yvette did a beautiful teaching with what is his name? Something Barnett, the football player. And they were talking about, and I've talked about this too, about talking about the I don't know whether it's attachment style, but you can go and look. I might tag it in this video. The video that Keys to the Kingdom did, where she talks in depth about each individual attachment style, and she talks about how they draw to one another, and how some men that have one particular style about them were probably dealing with certain childhood traumas that cause them to be that way. Same way for the female. And she goes into it. So I actually don't even have to go and add them here. If you go into, it's a playlist that I added called Deliverance. I linked all of the videos that I'm talking about from Keys to the Kingdom in that Deliverance playlist. I think it's only 2 or 3. Because she does a dissection of an interview with a teenager on the child was on one of them old television shows. I forget what the guy's name was. And she expresses certain toxicities her parents did. I did a full write-up on this. I still got it somewhere. But and after I did that write-up, I did do 1 or 2 videos on it. I would have to look to see the videos that I talked about this. But all of these things will determine, and these styles are literal determinants that show you. I remember there's a